What's up, guys? Sound Optimist here with
Gersh1.
and we're back at it again to answer your questions in another episode of For the Greater.
WAAAGH. This is a special edition because we are not behind the glorious and infamous window, but we are behind a Zinch-inspired painting that hopefully brings us good luck in the future. And by good luck in the future, I mean when we answer your question. Because we have a special question from a special user named
Kaglanek. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly because it hurt my throat. And he asked, how do you think Guilliman will react when he sees the big statue of his dad and how the Imperium has fallen into a religious cult? So basically, what's Guilliman's reaction?
Yeah, so it can go two ways. First we have to understand who Guilliman is. All Primarchs were designed in a certain theater of war, basically, right? And Guilliman is organizational.
Mm-hmm. He is basically textbook Primarch.
Right. Yeah. So I think what's going to happen is he's going to come back, he's going to see the totalitarian nature of the Imperium, which means control, which means something that he's gonna like, and he's gonna either look past the entire what is it called? Imperial cult, the
religious aspect of cult,
because he's gonna be more interested in
the totalitarianism,
right?
Or he's just gonna revert to an angry Marine and be like, what the is going on? Like, we just told you not to worship the Emperor as a god. Like, where's my power chair? Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna body slam some bitches.
So yeah, one of those two. Mm-hmm. What I think is gonna be more interesting is not so much Guilliman's reaction to the Imperium, but the Imperium's reaction to Guilliman. Because the Ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition, they've held power to like a stranglehold degree. Now a Primarch who not only is gonna just make people bow down before him, or not make people, but people will bow down before him.
McCragg, all of Ultramar.
But
yeah,
it's a superhuman being. Like, he has charisma, he has everything that every general ever since his time has had, all put into one.
Right.
Because that's what Primarchs are meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a huge threat to the powers of so many people in the Ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition. And I think that's the reason why he's coming with, or that's why that Grey Knights guy is coming.
Oh yeah, there is a Grey Knight captain also being released at the same time as Cypher and Guilliman.
Yep.
So let's see what happens when Robot Gorilla Man actually shows up lore-wise. GW, please don't disappoint.
And let's move on to more questions. Again, if you want your question answered for next week, all you have to do is comment down below with whatever question you want us to answer. Don't forget to put question in front of the question so we can get to it first. And also just comment down below and let us know what you think Guilliman's reaction is going to be when he comes back to the Imperium.
That's right.
This question comes from Bill Reed. How likely is it that all the PETA shenanigans is just Magnus trying to get rid of the Space Wolves? Yeah?
It's highly likely.
It means he teamed up with Zinch.
That's right. Even though he already worships.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking Slanesh.
No.
No. So yeah, it's all part of the master plan.
It's all part of his plan, guys. But actually, GW released a regimental standard saying that it is unguardsman-like to wear the pelt of lesser beings such as animals of the universe. So basically, they're like, stay in uniform, don't degrade, the Imperium, don't degrade your officers by wearing pelts. So in a way, they kind of bend down to PETA, but I don't know if it's like legit or not. So.
And if you get butthurt that GW did that, just stop.
Yeah,
just move on with your life.
Does it really matter if you got like pelts on your dudes?
Yeah.
Unless you play Space Wolves, and I can see, but even then, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Sylveon Moore. Is it true that what they say about Vulcan, that he's just that he's really just running away from child support?
Hey, you never know, man. It's like, find these 9 relics and I'll be back. When in reality, there's no relics.
No relics.
Mm-mm. He just he didn't leave. He just went to the gas station. He'll be back.
Right.
But on the same topic of the salamanders in Vulcan, why is it that why is it that the salamander's skin is pitch black? Axe, fox, soft. So why are salamanders? Why are salamanders pitch black? That's pretty easy. Because they live on like volcanic worlds, and obviously there's a bunch of soot, a bunch of fire, and it clings to your skin. That's and after millennia of like people living on this, they get recruited to become space marines. So it just becomes an evolutionary mutation gene. So there you have it.
It's because they're recruits.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Meadow Zeet Williams. Can the Dark Eldar become Eldar again?
Probably not.
No, I think they can. So, because you gotta remember, being a Dark Eldar doesn't mean you worship Slanesh. It just means that you
follow a pleasure path, I guess.
Yeah, you're basically a sect.
Right.
You're part of some craziness. You can jump away from that, and if a craft world is willing to accept you, then yes, you can become part of it. But I think it's rare that a craft world or a maiden world would accept a Dark Eldar.
That's
Maybe
like,
more a maiden.
Right. I feel like there'd be too much suspicion as to, hey, why are you trying to, infiltrate us?
Not to mention, like, being a Dark Eldar is almost like being addicted to a drug.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's rare to find the actual drug user to be the one seeking out the help. It's usually people around him that try to push him to seek help.
That's right.
And no craft world Eldar is going to try to help a Dark Eldar. Next question.
This is by B.W. Merlin. If the Harlequins know all the ways through the webway, does that mean that they knew how to get to Terra through the Emperor's webway project? That has been a topic of many speculation, theories, conspiracies, because they were actually some people who say that the Eldar are actually the reason why the Emperor was building this, or why he attained the knowledge to actually build these webways. But in my opinion, maybe, but I don't know. The Emperor seems to be so overpowered that maybe he was putting like a block or a something to kind of keep out the homunculus and the Harlequins from coming into his webway, if that makes sense.
Next question comes from Sam Eaton, or Edon. How come the Primarchs are only just starting to come back? Why didn't they come back when they saw it was all going to shit? Plus, do you think they will be in charge when they come back? So I think they're coming back now for a variety of reasons. Number one, GW wants money, and they saw how successful Forge World was with their 30K series. But lore-wise, I think they're coming back because there has to be something that Cypher does to bring back Guilliman. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not just coming back willy-nilly. Like, there's something within the lore, and it's going to be explained with every single Primarch that ever comes back.
That's right.
Now, for the second question, do we think that they're going to gain control of a portion of the Imperium? I think so.
Yeah, easily, especially with Guilliman. He's already being basically seen as like a little god in Ultramar. Mm-hmm. So, because there's people who go to his shrine and would pray to him. So yeah, he's definitely has a huge control of at least a big Space Marine force. Look at all the Ultramarines. They were the largest chapter, right? Or the largest
successor.
No, they're not. Yeah, they had the most guys.
Successor chapters. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, he's a big threat now, and we'll see what happens.
And it's in his name. He's Guilliman, the ruler of Ultramar. Next question comes from the Real 63. I understand it would be hard due to chaos corrupting properties, but are there any Imperial Guard legions that specialize in anti-cultist counter-insurgency style combat? The Inquisition.
Yeah.
So not necessarily an Imperial Guard legion, but there'll be an Inquisitor who is specifically leading an Imperial Guard regiment who he knows is fighting these, cultists and whatnot. There might even be names for them. I can't think of any right now, though.
None that I'm aware of.
Is the Tanith first and only? No, it was not led by an Inquisitor, was it? No. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there is.
This one's by Billy Davis II. Oh, excuse me, the third. If ruinous powers can bestow gifts, mutating their worshippers, the God Emperor creates living saints, then would it also make sense that Gork and Mork bestow similar gifts to the orcs? And what is it?
Yeah, so Gork and Mork gave Gatskull Magurk Thraka the gift of prophecy. They gave him visions.
Right, yeah.
And those visions he uses as a stepping stone or as a guide to, doing his thing.
Basically rally all the orcs in the universe and create the biggest wall ever.
Yep, and within the story of Gatskull, you learn that he had like a series of weird boys that could tap into Gork and Mork, and Gork and Mork were giving them the powers of the WAAAGH. Yeah. So yeah. So nothing though like a super like green arm or something like that. No.
This one's by Aaron Herbert. Why aren't there more Dreadnought chapter masters? Like, if all the best soldiers that the Empire has get fallen, why don't they just put them in Dreadnoughts? So basically, if there's all these epic Marines that are, captains, chapter masters, why aren't there more Dreadnought chapter masters?
Because not everybody gets like to the point where they can be put on life support. Like if you're in an accident, the chances of you getting on life support are probably less than you just dying, right?
Right.
Unless it's a minor injury, but again, Space Marines, minor injuries to a Space Marine is like a scratch.
Yeah. I mean, they could lose an arm and keep on going and, kill like half your army, so.
Yep. Hope that answers that question.
And also, not everybody has a bunch of dreadnoughts just lying around ready to be interred.
Right, yep.
So.
That is another thing. Next question.
This was by Dark Michael. If you like Tau Crisis suits so much, why did you sell them? Are you planning on getting more? Maybe a Gundam frame action figure could be used as a Crisis suit. The reason why I sold them was because it was back in 5th edition. The Tau sucked heavily, and we really took like a huge break from Warhammer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't think we're ever gonna play. Goodbye, beloved Tau. Mm-hmm. And then I bought ice cream to make my regret even less. But anyway, yes, I do regret doing that. But what I learned from this was that no matter what, if you do like an army, I'd say keep it because it always looks nice. It reminds you of the good old days. And yeah, there is a lot of conversion options. You could do Gundams and whatnot. But in my opinion, it's best to stay with 40K figures. I don't know, I feel like some other of the IPs don't really mesh too well. But again, it depends on what you like and what conversions you can actually do.
Yep. The Livend says, you said that the Eldar and the humans had no link between them. But what if the old ones created humans, but they were unsatisfied and put them back onto Terra? Later, they needed to combat the Necrons. When they remembered their failed experiment that they discarded on Terra, they grabbed a few specimens and improved them, ultimately making the Eldar. I think I've heard somewhere that an Eldar and a human can interbreed. If that's true, this theory would make a whole lot more sense.
I think there's like retconned lore of half human, half Eldar guys that are like super powerful psychers. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's legit anymore.
Right. I'm actually going to make a 40 facts video on this topic. But remember, the Eldar came before humans.
That's right. Like way, way before humans.
Yeah, way, way before humans. Another question. Could the Primarchs match or outmatch the speed and grace of an Eldar? Not to mention, would they be better at thinking up solutions? Hell, would just a regular Space Marine ever match an Eldar? So a regular Space Marine matched with an Eldar, they're pretty even, but the Eldar is still a little quicker, or like statistically speaking, I guess you could say. Eldars are going to be a little more quicker.
That's why their initiative's higher than a regular Space Marine, I believe.
Yep. But the Primarchs.
Oh yeah, outclass.
Yeah, they can take out.
Because it said that, I don't know where I read it, but I think it said something like 2 Primarchs fighting was like you could barely follow it with your eyes, like. And this is like superhuman Space Marines are having trouble keeping up and following what the hell's going on with these guys fight.
The best way to think of that is, in DBZ when like Vegeta and Goku were fighting, or Frieza and Goku, and all you see is like,
yeah, like the sound waves of their like fighting. It's like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. This one's by Hey Crew, guess who's back? Congrats, you guys correct. It's Biggest Dickus.
Biggest Dickus.
Hey, we missed some dick in our life. Can you please explain where all the factions known to wear pelts get it from? I know a Space Wolf acquires how a Space Wolf acquires theirs, but what about the others? It would be cool to refute the "it takes no skill" argument. Basically, Biggest Dickus is asking, how do all these Space Marines acquire their pelts? So the easiest way, skinning. Yeah, for the Space Wolves, they acquire it through ritual in order to become a Space Wolf. But all the other chapters, probably just by like killing a beast and like, hey, look at my trophy.
Salamanders did that. They killed
the Drakes, the Salamanders. Who else?
As far as because for Luna Wolves.
Yeah, that's right.
Same kind of scenario. There's a certain type of beast on. Is it Luna?
I believe it is.
No,
not. Yeah, no.
Well, I don't know, but there's a certain beast from their homeworld that that's where they get it from. Next question. You already read that one.
Paintball Wonder. How long can a Space Marine operate in his power armor before needing to resupply or recharge? I think it's indefinitely, isn't it? Because they have like the black carapace, and their backpack works as like a generator, so it's always being powered. The only way I would think of them needing to like recharge or whatever would be if they get way too damaged in conflict, and they need to like repair it and whatnot. So I'm not 100%, but don't quote me on that.
Next question comes from SR Hunter. Assuming the Horus Heresy novels are canon, we see Logar and Magnus muse over the nature of the warp, that it responds to and is shaped by sentient emotions. Logar contemplates that the warp could be shaped, influenced by positive feelings, but chose suffering and anguish as the easiest emotions to inspire and maintain. Given this, wouldn't it be possible for a Tau dominance and influence in the galaxy effectively neutralizing chaos, or at least alter its malicious nature? All those sentient races singing Kumbaya to the greater good and being content in their place, leaving little room for misery and excess.
First of all, the greater good, just because it has good in its name, does not mean it's all fun and sunshines and happiness. Because remember, these guys, more specifically the Ethereals, they use mind control to control other races and force them into the greater good. Because if they don't oblige by their rules, or they don't support the greater good, they're gonna get terminated, decimated. There's been instances where whole races and populations have been wiped out completely because they didn't want to join the greater good. And the Vespid are being mind controlled. So
don't talk about Tau like that. But that's a good concept. It's an interesting concept, and it goes along with my idea that the Tau were specifically made to combat chaos. But in the way that you're explaining it, not so much combat chaos, but neutralize chaos.
Right.
Make it balance. Another interesting thing to note is that the warp might be at its infancy, right? Because even though they say that in the warp, the concept of time and space is completely different, it's chaotic or whatever.
Right.
In the lore, it says that back when the old ones were around, the warp wasn't as malicious as it is now, because there wasn't as many sentient beings feeding it. So that must mean that there is a progression of the warp changing according to the population, and that population does get affected by time. So yeah, you're right. Basically, the warp might be like a 13-year-old kid, becoming a punk, or what do you call it, emo kid.
That's right.
And like just lashing out or whatever.
Yes.
And we might be moving towards a more mature warp, where it is more balanced.
So don't be surprised if one day you're just walking down the street and you notice the warp whisper in your ear, "Cash me outside." So watch out, guys.
Yeah. And those are the questions for this week. Thank you guys so much for sending them our way. Again, comment down below. If we didn't get to your question today, comment that question again for next week, and we'll probably answer it. If not, just keep doing that until the end of time.
Or log on to Patreon, make an account, and subscribe, because we always answer each and every one of our patrons' questions, no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks again for being awesome subscribers. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all that awesome jazz. As always, I am the Sound Alchemist.
Gersh 1.
We are a one-mind syndicate, and we are signing out.